live on air 18 million people, live broadcast, and one man was about to compress his entire life into 12 minutes. Tonight, you will witness the most shocking moment in television history. You'll see how a single question can bring an entire nation to its knees. And you'll learn that no matter how painful the truth is, lies are always more terrifying. Munich, West Germany, May 23, 1980, 8:15 p.m., ZDF television studio. Germany's most prestigious news program, Heute Journal, was about to go live. Günter Grass, 54 years old, ZDF's chief correspondent, for 22 years, the face of German journalism. 2 honorary doctorates, Bismarck Medal, Adenauer Award. His questions made Chancellor Helmut Schmidt sweat. His pen ended political careers, but tonight he would end his own career, and he had no idea. Bob Marley was on his West Germany tour. The Uprising album was breaking records in Berlin, Hamburg, Munich. But he was sick, very sick. The melanoma in his foot had already begun spreading through his body. Doctors begged him to cancel the tour. Bob refused. "People need me." You're about to see just how much Germany needed Bob Marley. A week earlier, Günter Grass told his producers, "I'm going to show this Jamaican man what European civilization means. I'll tear apart his primitive understanding of music." He didn't know that what would be torn apart was his own life. 8:14 p.m. Bob entered the studio. Quiet, guitar in hand, Grass didn't even shake his hand, just pointed to the chair. The insult had begun from the first moment. 8:15 p.m. The red light came on. 18 million Germans in front of their televisions. Good evening. This is Heute Journal, and I'm your host, Günter Grass. Tonight, we have Bob Marley, a musician of Jamaican origin. His reggae music is influencing European youth. Today we'll discuss whether this influence is good or dangerous. Bob said nothing, just looked. That look saw everything. "Mr. Marley, your music is based on simple rhythmic patterns. Some critics call this primitivism. How do you respond?" Bob's expression didn't change. Primitivism, interesting word. Do you use this word often, Günter? I use it in a scientific sense. Simple, undeveloped, lower on the evolutionary ladder. Evolutionary ladder? Bob nodded. Which rung are you on? Grass smiled with that arrogant German smile. I am an educated European citizen. We've developed philosophy, science, art for centuries. Beethoven, Goethe, Kant. This is civilization, Mr. Marley. Pay attention now, because in the next 30 seconds, everything will change. Civilization. Bob repeated the word, rolling it in his mouth. Then he leaned forward. The camera captured his face in close-up. 18 million Germans held their breath. Was Hitler civilization too? The studio froze. Complete, absolute silence. Camera operators went motionless. Producers went into shock. Grass's face turned white in 3 seconds, then red, then purple. That's a completely different topic. Different? Bob's voice was calm, but each word was heavy as an anchor. You're giving me evolution lessons. But what was your country doing 35 years ago? 6 million Jews, black people, Slavs, Roma. Were they primitive too? Mr. Marley, we've left that period behind. Left behind? Bob's voice was louder now. Where did you leave it? Inside you or in a closet? In the control room, producer Klaus Becker shouted into the microphone, "Cut to commercial, now!" But director Werner Schmidt shook his head. No, this must continue. And soon they would witness history. Bob picked up his guitar. No one expected what would happen next. He began to play. And the studio froze. This was Beethoven's Ode to Joy. The finale of the Ninth Symphony, Germany's national pride. Bob played it perfectly. Every note in place, every rhythm precise. Grass stared with his mouth open. He didn't expect this primitive man could play Beethoven, but the next moments would be even more shocking. Bob kept the melody, but began changing the rhythm. Same notes, but now reggae rhythm. Offbeat. 1 and 3. Beethoven had become reggae. 18 million Germans couldn't believe what they were seeing. "You see," Bob said, continuing to play. "Am I destroying your music? No, I'm giving it new life." Beethoven wanted his music to be for all people. Alle Menschen werden Brüder. All people become brothers. His words. Do you remember, Günter? Bob stopped playing and looked directly at Grass. Do you know what Beethoven took from Africa when he wrote this music? What? What did he take? The rhythm, the polyrhythmic structure. In Vienna in the 1800s, African musicians lived there. Beethoven listened to them. Your great Beethoven learned from Africans. But nobody told you that, did they? Grass was completely lost now. His hands were shaking. Because you weren't told, Bob continued. Because Europe rewrote its own history, claimed everything as its own. And now came that moment. The moment that would change German television history. Bob leaned forward, his voice quieted, but each word was precise as a bullet. Günter, where was your father working in 1940? The question hung in the air. The studio seemed to lose oxygen. Camera operators forgot to breathe. 18 million Germans glued themselves to their TV screens. Grass's face went pale white. His lips trembled. My father. He was a doctor. A doctor where? In which city? That's not relevant. It is relevant, Günter. Very relevant. Bob stood up, approached Grass. Now they were 50 centimeters apart. Your father was a doctor in the Wehrmacht, wasn't he? Grass's voice trembled. Many German doctors were in military service. In the SS. 2 words. Just 2 words. But those 2 words split the atom. Your father was in the SS Medical Corps, 1943 to 1944. Auschwitz. Grass looked like he would collapse. His hands gripped the table. You're lying. Dr. Friedrich Grass, SS Hauptsturmführer, medical experiments. Lies! Lies! Grass shouted. My father was just a doctor. He was forced. Forced. Bob shook his head. Yes, everyone was forced. No one is responsible. But 6 million people died. Were they forced to die too? In the control room, tears ran down Director Werner Schmidt's face. Bob placed his hand on Grass's shoulder. Günter, I'm not blaming you. You're not responsible for your father's sins. But before you call me primitive, look in your own mirror. Look at your own family. Look at your own history. Grass was crying. Live on air. In front of 18 million Germans. I knew. But no one talked about it. Yes, Bob said, no one talks. You take that pain and lock it inside. And the pain grows and grows. And one day it explodes. If you're enjoying this incredible story of truth and redemption, please hit that like button and subscribe to Marley Files, the Untold Stories. We bring you the moments that changed music history forever. Bob picked up his guitar. Now I'll show you my music, my primitive music. And he began to play. Redemption song. Old pirates, yes. They rob, sold I to the merchant ships. His voice filled all of Germany. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Grass bowed his head. His shoulders shook. Bob finished the song. Silence. Then someone in the studio started clapping. Technical crew, operators. Everyone stood up. In 18 million homes, People were crying. "Günter," Bob said. "What did Kant say? Two things fill me with wonder: the starry sky above me and the moral law within me. Do you feel that law?" Grass raised his head. Now I feel it." Bob smiled. "Your father's sin is not your sin, but forgetting is a sin. Remembering is our salvation." The broadcast ended, but for Germany, everything was just beginning. The next 72 hours were chaos. ZDF received 400,000 calls. Half demanded Grass be fired, half thanked Bob. Build newspaper. Jamaican musician insults our national pride. Died sight. Bob Marley taught us the greatest lesson, facing the truth. 3 days later, Günter Grass made a public statement. "My father was in the Wehrmacht. I always knew this and was ashamed. I turned my shame into anger. Bob Marley was right. I must accept my own history." He resigned from ZDF, May 1981. Bob Marley died, 36 years old. At the memorial service in Munich, Günter Grass took the podium. "I met Bob Marley in 1980 on television as an enemy, with arrogance, hatred, fear. I wanted to diminish him, but he elevated me." Grass pulled out a paper from his pocket. "Bob wrote to me after the broadcast, 'Günter, your father's sin is not yours, but his lesson is. What will you do with this lesson? Will you hide it or use it to change the world? Love or fear? Light or darkness? You choose.'" Bob. Grass spent the next 15 years making documentaries about the Holocaust. He developed educational programs in German schools. In 2000, he wrote the book Bob Marley and Redemption. It became a bestseller. On the last page of the book, he wrote, 12 minutes, May 23, 1980. There, the old me died. Bob Marley killed me to bring me back to life. Today, in front of the Munich ZDF building, there's a memorial. The plaque reads, "Here, on May 23, 1980, Bob Marley taught a nation to face the truth." Every year, on May 23rd, hundreds of people come there. They light candles. Reggae music plays. Bob Marley once said, "You can run from the truth, but you cannot hide from it." Günter Grass met the truth as an enemy, but Bob showed him that truth is not the enemy. Truth is a mirror. 18 million Germans looked in that mirror that evening, and they were afraid. But fear is the first step. The second step is acceptance. The third step is change. Bob Marley compressed 3 steps into 12 minutes and changed a nation. If this story moved you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Marley Files for more incredible untold moments from Bob Marley's life. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next story.